So good evening all, it's Tamara from Bells North Homestead, and this is a completely different environment. Yay, I've got the northern lights behind me. Yay. No, honestly, no. Tonight it's raining out, so I could not do a talk in the garden. But I saw some of the feedback on the channel on the video that I just posted about balance and balancing needs and wants, and knowing that there's things coming up in the future that you're just racing to hurry up and get done, which means a lot of times you put your own things that you need for your body. Like, we think it's a want, but you put your own thing behind. And I'm really bad at this. Yeah, I have a bad tendency of doing it. So anyways, yeah, so I kind of just said, you know what, I told my husband, I said, okay, I've got some homework to do tonight for college. It's raining out. We just put the chickens away. We put the turkeys away. We put the ducks, everybody's away. We had thunderstorms, oh gosh, the past couple hours. But I just said, you know what, I'll hurry up and quickly do a video. And honestly, I just kind of wanted to say, how did we get here? Like, a lot of people don't always recognize just how much work it takes to get to a point where we're at. It has taken us several years. We bought this house in Northville, oh gosh, many years ago. And ever since then, we have been in a constant add this, add this, add this, add this. And so as a result, this is where we are now. So a lot of people, when they see everything we do, they think, oh my gosh, you know, you did this all overnight, which no. But yeah, so anyways, I just kind of wanted to bring that up and say, you know, the thing I suggest, if you really want to, first thing, you want to move out of a city, it's going to get harder. I'm going to give you honest truth, in my opinion anyways, following everything that I'm following, it's going to get harder and harder to get out of the cities, because the fact of the whole income, you know, or the mortgage rates going up, and houses are just so darn expensive. But, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And if you really power through, you could probably make it happen. I know that's easier said than done. I will give you kind of some history on us. When we were first living in Fairbanks, we actually, no, you know what, I'm gonna go all the way back. So I'm gonna go back to Maryland. This was the last place that we were at when my husband was military. And we knew we didn't like the East Coast. And I saw some pretty freaky, crazy things out of people that really made me very hesitant to be around people, not in everyday life, but in a situation where maybe things start to fall apart. I watched things just slightly fall apart in 2011 with the whole government shutdown. People literally went berserk, and it affected me. Like, I was sitting there going like, my gosh, people are going berserk over something so small. What if something bigger happens? And there was something that was just worrying me. I didn't know quite what it was. And I just kept telling my husband, I'm like, I think we need to put away food, but I don't know why. But we should put some away. And my husband agreed. And so we started putting some food away. And we lived in Maryland for another couple of years. We knew that we wanted to move somewhere out west. My husband retired. And it was really weird how everything happened. My job on the military post here was willing to hold it open for me. They needed me. And our townhome that we owned in Fairbanks, just so happened the renters were moving out just at the nick of time, like right as we were moving back. And at that point, we just said, you know what, we got a job. We need one more job and we have a house, 2 out of 3, that ain't bad. So we moved back to Fairbanks. And oh goodness, from 2013 all the way to 2015, 16 time period, we scrimped, we saved. I used to watch Prepper Princess all the time. I would sit there and be working quietly at my desk, and I'd be with my earbud and listening to Prepper Princess at Nate, Canadian Prepper. But Prepper Princess was a big one that I used to listen to all the time because I was living so frugally at the time. I used to have to tell my family, it feels like we're poor right now because we're saving up so much money. and we're like paying everything off. And we really got almost to the point where we had no debt. And then we found this house, and it was kind of a weird story. When we did find this house, we ended up bidding on it, and three of the people outbid us. But because of the fact that we followed certain things that the previous homeowner, the homeowner at that point, because of the fact that we followed some of the things that she wanted us to do, they awarded it to us. Our realtor afterwards told us he's never seen anything like this ever before out of his like 20 something years as a realtor. So it was pretty weird, creepy. And if you're Christian, I am a Christian. And so still to this day, I believe that was just the hand of God. God was getting involved there. So yeah, so we bought this house and we moved in here. We were in the whatever, like the technical sense, I guess you could call it. We were preppers at that point. We were putting food aside and all of that, the typical stuff. Canned goods, rice, beans, yeah. Just to have something for a rainy day. And the first animals that we added were rabbits, because it just so happened it kind of fell into our lap, kind of. We raced to get the hutches ready. Our hutches are not beautiful at all. We think that we want to do something different with them, but we don't quite know what we want to do yet. So the rabbits were the first thing that we added. And then we added bees. Now, keep in mind, every single time we added one of these, we would learn a little bit more. So each time it was like, okay, learn a little bit more. Okay, learn a little bit more. And so we added the bees. Rabbits were easy. Rabbits, they're easy. I've had almost no problems with rabbits, almost no problems. The past couple of years, we're getting a little bit more problems because our breeding line is less diverse. And so we're starting to see issues with, situations coming up with, okay, who do we breed this one to? If this one is this, and I mean, meat rabbits, it's just a meat rabbit. They're not breeding it for show. But at the same time, yeah, we're not happy with our our rabbit setup. But then the bees, the first year, 2 years, oh my gosh, we got stung nonstop. We've gotten a little bit better at it. Those people who follow me on Facebook, they would know that my husband just recently got stung. And so it does happen. This year we have 1 Russian, 2 Italians, and we're trying to overwinter. And then we got chickens, and we've had bad luck with chickens. Like, anybody who says chickens are the easiest animal, no, they're not in our yard. We had chicken after chicken after chicken after chicken die. My son says that our chicken math is really, really poor. Or our chicken skills or whatever, because we have lost. I actually color code a spreadsheet that I keep. Let me know if you'd ever be interested in seeing it, because maybe I'll do a whole entire presentation on my chicken sheet. But I have a roll call that makes, I have notes of how did each chicken die. And we have probably at least 4 or 5 of them due to violence. That meant dog, raven. Ravens are really mean here. Dog, raven. We've got 2 by fox. And then we've had quite a few of them. I want to say like 10 of them in the past have died due to illness, which we figured out was mites. And it's a constant battle of trying to figure out what we can do to potentially stop the mite problem. So chickens was a tough thing. Meat chickens only in COVID, we got into meat chickens, and we got into turkeys. COVID really spurred us into that. We really knew that we wanted to, now was the time we needed to start expanding. This was right around the time that also Bells of the North Homestead came out. Before this, I really didn't have a channel much because I had a blog. My medium is usually writing, not so much video. That's just the reason why you don't see too much of me. But I do like to write a lot, as long as I have time. Right now, I just don't feel like I have the time. Again, remember that like want versus need thing. So so that's kind of how we got started. So this shows you, this was like several years in the making for us. All we knew was we wanted to move. We loved Alaska. We wanted to move somewhere where there was not as many people. the fact that Alaska is farther off from the lower 48 is both a blessing and a curse. Our supply chain could potentially have problems over time. If anything happens in the lower 48, we're going to feel it up here. My son and I at one point were starting to write a book. I just haven't had a chance to finish it yet. Talking about a young teenage girl having to deal with if the, not San Andreas, the fault line up in Washington. I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah, it's been a long day, guys. I just got off work and all of that. But anyway, so we were going to write a book about that and how it affected this young teenage girl in Alaska, but we never got around to finishing it. But yeah, so the supply chain for up here is a little bit kind of iffy. But at the same time, the good news is we're separated from the lower 48. That's a positive because we don't get as much trauma as what you guys get down there. But it is starting to come up here, which is negative. So anyways, that is kind of a rundown on how we got started. Let me know if you have any questions. I mean, honestly, what I would always recommend is number one, start small, really, truly. That's actually what I tell a lot of the new gardeners in the Master Gardener class. Start small. Don't go overboard. Don't get everything all at once. Try. Get one thing. And I know it's really hard right now because there's this drive of, I need to get moving. There's things happening. Yeah, there is. But you also need to learn how to do this. It's not like an instantaneous, instant knowledge. It's not like Matrix where you can just plug in and voila, you got the knowledge. You have to slowly but surely learn it. It takes a while to learn this stuff. I am very much like Patera at Appalachia Homestead. I did not grow up with this at all. I grew up with perfectly done nails, perfectly done hair, makeup. My mom would have been like, yeah, about me being anywhere near livestock. Still to this day, I think sometimes she kind of snickers behind the scenes. But yeah, so I did not grow up with any of this. I've had to learn everything from scratch, except for gardening. Gardening was the one thing that I took to like a fish to water. I'm very, very good with working with soil. And as a result, my plants usually show it over the years. But like I've said before in some of my walkthroughs, I don't use hardly any chemical fertilizers. I use everything organic. I cannot technically label my produce as organic because I did pay for the label, but my customers know. That's good enough for me. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of say, to get started, don't be too hard on yourself. Start small. Start going through skills that you can add. And I've talked about this in previous videos, but seriously, start going through skills one at a time that you would be interested in, something you would like to learn, something that you might be good at, and add it. Start working on it. Maybe devote yourself a whole entire season just to that one skill. And then you go, okay, I'm done with that skill. I've gotten pretty good at it. I've mastered it. Maybe it's bread. Maybe it's making bread. I probably wouldn't do that right now during summertime because you guys are all in the heat thing. But I know you guys are getting really hot down there. But maybe it's bread. Okay. You want to learn how to make all sorts of bread. So you're going to make cornbread. You're going to make regular bread from scratch. You're going to make sourdough bread. Therefore, you won't need yeast. You're going to make potato bread. You're going to make, there's all these different types of bread. Go check out the channel, The Townsends. It's an old time channel. He specializes in the lifestyle of the 18th and 17th century. You'll learn a lot of very basic skills, which are really, really important, in my opinion. So that's number one, is start small. Start learning a skill. When you master that skill, add something more. You just keep doing this, guys. Guys, I've been doing this since 2011, and this is where I'm at. I mean, I'm teaching a Master Gardener class right now. So I can my own jams and jellies. I do my own processing of meat. I have learned how to butcher chicken. I know how to debone a chicken. I know how to debone a turkey. I know how to debone a rabbit. These are all skills that if you had asked me 10 years ago how to do it, I would have had no clue. So these are all things to learn. So I guess my final question to you is if at the end of this, I know I've just thrown a whole bunch of information out there, and I kind of just came into this with like a, hey, I'm just going to do a quick video because I still have homework to do, and I still have laundry to put away, and I still have all sorts of other stuff. But so my final question to you is, what is your skill? Like what thing are you going to add today? What are like, start thinking of the things you're good at. You just because you don't have a green thumb doesn't mean that you're useless. You can think of other things, I'm sure. Maybe you're really good with woodworking. Well, develop that skill. Maybe you're good with metalworking. Well, develop that skill. You know, find your skill, start working on this. And that way, then you become more useful, especially if things turn sour, which I think it's possible, it's highly likely. Looking at where we're at, I think I heard somebody just recently say, I don't remember who it was, but I heard somebody say, do we see the light at the end of the tunnel? I myself do not see a light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon. So I think it's very important that you start learning some skills outside of your work, something that can translate very well into a future world. Think of like Great Depression. What would you do during the Great Depression? If your work went away and there was no work for you and unemployment's all gone and there's no benefits, what would you do? Think of something that you can start developing. So it's just a thought. So I just want to leave you with that. And I want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. Normally I would do this in my garden, but it's nasty outside. It's rainy. Putting away the chickens and everything was a mess. So I didn't want to invite you out with it being rainy, and I would have had a wet butt. So from sitting out there. So anyways, thank you all. This is Tamara from Bells of the North Homestead, and I'm out.